well-played ballad is one of the great joys in life. Listening to Gene Ammons or Stan Getz float a melody over a great jazz standard is probably one of the reasons that we fell in love with this instrument. But done poorly or falling into a couple of traps when playing a ballad can make it an agonizing experience for you, your rhythm section, and the audience, and your teacher. Today, I'm illuminating 3 pitfalls, 3 traps to avoid when playing a ballad. As teachers, we hear this a lot, and as a student, I fell into these traps a lot and played some rather agonizing, slow, dreadful ballads in my day. So I know this from experience. I know these pitfalls because I have stepped in them. Now, today's masterclass is a play-along class, so grab your saxophone. We have alto and tenor play-alongs. We're going to learn the melody, discuss these traps, and then practice solutions to get you sounding better playing ballads. Now, a precursor to everything we're doing today, a pre-pitfall trap, is tempo. So as we were talking about Italian terms related to tempo, I want you to think more adagio or perhaps andante, the slower but not creepingly slow tempos, especially as we're learning ballads. So you'll notice today's tempo is not fast, it's not even moderate, it is slow, but err on the side of moderate for a number of reasons we're going to talk about. Andante is a great place to start learning a ballad. Andante is a walking tempo. So imagine walking, holding hand in hand with your cutie pie, and you're my cutie pie today, rather than very slow grave, where you're attending the funeral of your audience's attention span. So as we start this, and as you're learning ballads, don't go too slow. That's a trap that most people fall into, but let's go ahead and dive in talking to the biggest problem that I see in thinking that the notation is the music. First thing we need to fix, the notation is not the music. It is a pale representation, a reminder, a notation, a shadow in Plato's cave of what the music actually is. Jazz is an oral tradition. We have to learn the melody and how to solo by listening to the recordings. A lead sheet is great, and it's tempting to play a ballad and just read it off the lead sheet, but it causes a lot of problems. If we simply read the lead sheet of a ballad and read those 8 notes as do, va, do, va, do, va, do, va, you get the idea. It's bad. There's a lot of rhythmic nuance that we have to learn. It cannot be notated on the page. We have to learn by listening. So let's play the melody together. We're going to learn the tune from 1930, published by Gershwin, I've Got a Crush on You. I'm going to have the notation there, but you'll see it's just a representation of how it's played. My personal interpretation is not what I made out of the ether. It's an informed decision because I have Thad Jones, Ike Quebec, and Ella Fitzgerald, 3 of my favorite recordings of this tune, ringing in my ears. And if you listen to those 3 enough, or your other favorites, your interpretation will be coming from a place in the tradition rather than simply reading off the page, which isn't good for anyone. So listen to me play through it once, then go back. I'll put some chapter markers so you can easily just go right back. Then play along with me and get comfortable with the discrepancy between what's written on the page and what's coming out of my instrument or your hero's instruments. It's not the same. That's okay. It is a fool's errand trying to notate exactly or explain with written or spoken language how to lay back, how to swing, how to play behind the beat. The answer is on the records. We cannot recreate it with the English language or notation. So listen all the way through once, then play it again along with me, and play it as I'm being fairly consistent in the way I'm approaching these rhythms. Play it with what you're hearing rather than what's on the page. Now, if you're enjoying playing along and learning melodies with me, I would certainly appreciate a thumbs up. Helps me get found by more students who are interested in learning the oral tradition of jazz, and it just means a lot to me, so thank you. Now, second pitfall to avoid. That's right, improvisation is not picking a scale. Likewise, jazz improvisation is not arpeggiating chords. You think, well, is it a combination of both? Well, if we take our job as improvisers as using scales and arpeggios, stepwise and leapwise motions, diatonic notes, and chromatic alterations, we have the recipe for things, but no context, no order of things to do. It's a list of vocabulary words, but no knowledge of how to use them. So how do we know when to use steps, when to use leaps, when to use scales, when to use arpeggios? Well, there's this great thing that gives us all the answers. Of course, it's called the melody. The history of jazz is alterations, playing the melody on top of the existing melody, heterophonic texture back in New Orleans. So a great place to start, rather than noodling up the scale and back down or arpeggiating endlessly, use the melody as a guidepost, a scaffolding to build your ideas. That way you're coming from a place of harmonic knowledge, melodic knowledge, rhythmic interpretation, and phrasing. We will learn how to do great phrasing, how we shape which notes belong to where and where they're going and leading by using the melody as a guide. And I say this honestly, I've never heard anyone say after someone's solo, that was a good solo, but it sounded a little too much like the melody. That's just not something you hear. Now, noodly scales, ain't nobody gonna love that. So how do we get started doing this? Well, I've got 3 alterations of the first phrase. Don't alter the entire things at once. Eat an elephant one bite at a time. Learn a jazz standard or a ballad one phrase at a time. In most of Western music, a phrase is 4 bars. In most jazz standards, is 4 bars. Take one 4-bar phrase and play along with me. Here are a couple of alterations. Notice if you can see and hear, feel the melody underneath when I'm playing, and see how we're altering it, which is a great first step, sometimes a final step, in building a great solo. Pitfall 3, which was never made. Pitfall 1 and 2 were fantastic on the Atari and ColecoVision. They never made its way onto the Intellivision, which it was the system that my family had. And if you know any of the things that I'm talking about, go ahead and take your fiber supplement. It's time. I took mine this morning, so don't worry. So pitfall number 3 in this case is the scoop. Don't do it. Now, a good bend, a sultry slide into a note via Johnny Hodges. Matter of fact, there's a great recording of this tune one of my students showed me of Joshua Redman playing this tune and his graceful bends and glides up and down the notes. They're not scoops. They're just beautiful ornamentation of the notes. Check out his recording of it. It's a fantastic example. But scoops can become a reflex action. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's a ballad. It's slow. There's a note up high with the octave key, and it's long. Don't scoop it. How do you make it interesting? Well, there's other techniques that if we listen to our heroes, Gene Ammons is my favorite ballad player. Gentle Jug is a collection of some of his great recordings. Listen to the way he plays Willow Weep for me, an example, or Ike Quebec playing this tune. To interpret long notes beyond just the scoop, which is another topic we'll dive into another day, when I've had a lot more coffee, think of how do we make notes more interesting? Well, shaping them with vibrato. And space that we'll talk about after the vibrato. But first, let's add vibrato. This is not a masterclass on how to do vibrato. I have a couple of videos on that. But using vibrato, we can start with a fast going to straight tone, or straight tone adding intensity as it leads somewhere, or constant vibrato, or straight tone. So those right there off the bat are 4 different colors on your palette with which you can paint. So how do we practice that? We'll just put the very opening motive, do-ba-doo. Just play that very first opening and practice treating that first note with several different kinds of vibrato. I'll demonstrate, then you try it. Now, moving beyond just vibrato and shaping the note, and vibrato is not just a pitch change, it's a timbre change, a coloration of the note. Yes, the pitch does and should change, but beyond that, there's also an affectation, an intensity, a color change, as the French would say, and that's good too. But beyond that, shaping the note length, not always playing them full value, but instead of just stopping the note or pausing the note and adding a space, if we end the note intentionally, we create a rest. A rest is a space that's a rhythm, and that can create a lot of interest. As you're playing, think WWMD. What would Miles Davis do? Ending notes in such a cool way that the space takes on a life of its own and becomes a compositional tool, not just a space to take a breath. So then experiment with different note lengths. Again, just that opening phrase of how you can make that more interesting, experimenting with note lengths. So avoiding these 3 pitfalls and implementing the solutions I've showed you will make huge improvements to your ballad playing, I absolutely guarantee. I hope you've enjoyed playing with me and doing these exercises today. I really enjoy making them. So I hope you stick around and consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. I'd love to have you in the studio working here with me. And I will see you very soon. We have a couple of upcoming lessons. A little bit of a spoiler, the Academy will be enrolling in March. I'll talk about that later. But in the meantime, go find your favorite recording of this tune, listen to it nonstop, and go practice.